Now I gave you this question in pseudocode, okay? Now in pseudocode, obviously for us, that is more relevant to the AQA pseudocode language, alright? But there are other ways of doing things, and sometimes they give you exam papers that are more skewed to Python, other times they give you them more skewed to pseudo. But I want to prepare you for both. So let me show you how you write a subroutine for the same problem in Python. Then you can see the difference. Now, to tell the program that it is a function in Python, we use the word def. So we would use def. That, for those of you that don't know, and this is the way I've always learned it, is define function. That's how I remember it. So you're defining your function. So now, again, I'm going to give it the same name. I'm going to say find underscore minimum. And I am going to pass my parameter into it called array int. Now, obviously, because I'm doing it in Python, I'm making sure I've got my semicolons there. All right. Can you see it's not too dissimilar, except the word def. All right. Now, what I need to do, again, the difference this time is I'm not using an arrow because that's AQA pseudocode. I'm going to set up my minimum number. Minimum number equals array underscore int. But in terms of positioning, is the same. So I'm going to say there 0 in my square brackets. Now, in order for me to go through our Python list, you will have probably done for item, you might have done something like this before in Python. Let me write it up. For item in list. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but if you got an exam question that was being really pedantic and needed you to start at a certain position, that wouldn't work, because that's going to go through every item in the list. Yeah, if you remember in Python, I can say for item in list, an item becomes the next item in the list each time. What I'm going to do is I want to be able to start at position 1. I don't want to check the first item. I already know what's in that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say for x in range. Now, to start at position 1, because I already know what is 0, I've already taken the item out of that, all I do is change the value of x to 1 as the start number, comma, and then I'm going to say len array int. Why have I done it that way? What would the length of the list be? 5. But in Python, we don't ever get to that final number. It's exclusive at the top. So it would only go 0, well, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it stops on the 4. It doesn't actually go to the 5th one. So remember, Python is exclusive. I do not need -1 on len. Alright? Just a little bit of a tip if you want to write that down somewhere. Now, again, the rest of it is pretty similar. I'm going to say if array int x is less than min, min now equals array int x. And then I don't need any else. I don't need anything inside 4. I just return min. So what are our key differences here? In pseudocode we use an arrow. In Python we use equals. In pseudocode we use a then. In Python we use a semicolon. Instead of going for x is 1 to len int minus 1, we go 1 comma len array int. We don't need to subtract the 1 from it. So that should give you the difference there. I also don't need to write end def or anything like that. So what I would like you to have is you've got my example here and then your example in Python. I would like them side by side in the book, please. Are there any questions in the Python version? It's okay to ask questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. All right? It's only silly if we don't speak up and we end up getting it wrong. Yes?
I don't get why you don't need to subtract when you're doing
Because in Python, what it means by the term exclusive, so you know like when you've done for I in range, and you might have done like 5, never actually gets to the 5. So if you did for I in range in brackets 5 and did print I, you would see it only actually prints 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so if you type that into Python, I think that will help you understand it a bit better. But it's just the way that Python does it. Alright, it's just exclusive at the top. Some programming languages are inclusive there. And probably if you did it as a while loop, you might not subtract 1 from it, depending on how you've incremented it. Alright, what were you going to ask?
Yeah, I was a bit confused on the third line. So,
This one?
yeah, when you start the bracket.
For I in range, what, this one here?
Yeah.
That's my starting point. If I've got my list of numbers here, 5, 9, 3, 4, 2,
Yeah.
x represents 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
So if I'm allocating 5 into my min,
Yeah.
I don't need to start at 0, I start at 1.
Okay.
And then I'm only iterating from 1 to 4.
So what happens from there?
How do you mean?
Like, how do you proceed?
No, because x represents 1,
Yeah.
then it will represent 2, then x will represent 3, then x will represent 4. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Right. So think about it. Array int will be 0, then array int, sorry, it wouldn't be 0, it would be 1, then array int would be 2, then array int would be 3, then array int would be 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I'm just using the value x as the number here. X is 1, then it's 2, then it's 3, then it's 4. So I've used x as my index, and every time I'm there, so x is 1, is 9 less than 5?
No.
No. Then the value is 2. In 2 is number 3, is 3 less than 5?
Yeah.
So then the minimum number
Times the 3.
is the value I'm currently on. I'm not multiplying it, I'm just saying the minimum number is equal to what I'm at. So the minimum number now becomes 3. Right, next loop, alright, I'm going to check, is 4 less than 3? No, it's not. So I go to the next one, is 2 less than 3?
Yeah.
So because x is 4 there, yeah, 2 is less than 3.
Yeah.
So min now becomes the value that I'm currently on, which was 2.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's what's happening there. Yes?
Do you need to put then on the for loop? Like,
Don't need then. That's why we use semicolons in Python. So just substitute the semicolon for a then. Yeah? and on the 4 you don't need then. Alright. Any other questions? Yes?
So the only reason you're not starting from 0 is because you've already assigned.
I've already, yeah.
0.
If I wanted to be lazy and be an inefficient coder, and I don't suppose you would get really marked down for it, but I don't want to teach you to be bad coders, I could have done this question as let me just write this here. I could have done this question, so from here, yeah, this bit here, I could have, if I wanted to, said for item in array int if if item is less than min, then min equals item. I could have done it that way, but then what's happening is I'm going to compare 5 with 5, and I've done one extra loop I didn't need to do.
Not efficient.
It's not efficient. Some exams might pull you down on that, others might just let you go because you've still managed to iterate through every item in the list. But if you struggle with that and you're having a bad day in the exam, just resort to item in list and then use item as your iterator. Okay? That's okay. So I'm going to stop recording on that.